ดีค่ะ Let me introduce myself first. I'm Chatkaew Tanskul. I have been working for PTTEP here for almost 9 years as environmental engineer. Here I have many experience related to environmental dimension. For example, I was involved in a company greenhouse gas target setting, water reduction project, and environmental impact assessment, and also environmental operation support in several operational assets. Currently, I'm assigned as the G1 focal point to support G1 environmental operations.
สวัสดีครับ I'm ไกรสอน บาลมงคล I have joined PTT EPED about half a year ago as senior engineer G1 Asset Chief. My experience is with oil and gas industry for over than 25 years, both downstream and upstream business. I have worked on multiple projects regarding civil engineer work and chief specialist. For example, FSO replacement, Bangkok Terminal MRU installation, and Patong Gas 2 contractor safety management. Before joining PTT EPED, I have worked in position of oil field asset Chief Team Leader. Very nice to meet you today ครับ
Today, we received the honor from our two special guests from Oil Spill Response Limited joining us as well. The first one, Kun Ahmad Nasli. He has been working in oil and gas industry for last 16 years, starting his career various operational and logistic functions with various companies for offshore vessel owners, subsea construction, and drilling and exploration operators. He joined OSRL in 2010, and currently he is the response manager for Asia Pacific region based in Singapore. Kun Ahmad has been involved in various oil and gas operators in assisting them to enhance their preparedness against any potential oil spill incident in the region. Also greeting Kun Sharina Chanawaz. She is a senior engineer in OSRL who is responsible for development and management of oil spill preparedness project in the region. Kun Sharina has developed and delivered numerous projects including contingency plans, capability reviews, oil spill preparedness workshop, trainings and incident as well as crisis management exercises across Asia Pacific and African regions. During this time, she has worked closely with government agencies, national and international oil companies. Kun Sharina was OSRL project manager working with PTTEP-ED in the past months to develop capability review and oil spill contingency plan for our G1 operations. So today our topics to discuss is the challenge of Block G1 oil spill preparedness and response in Gulf of Thailand. So to have a good start, Kun Kaisorn, please introduce the overview of G1 to let everyone know roughly about the asset, please.
Please let me introduce you to know about G1 asset, fact and information. G161 asset comprised of 4 fields, Erawan, Satun, Funan, and Platong. Those are the first oil field owned and operated by PTTEP. Erawan has 2 LQ with phase 1 platform A, B, C, D, and E, and 2 compression and 1 MRU platform. Total capacity is around 350. Satun and Funan field has 1 LQ and 1 CPP each, which has own production separator, gas compression, and gas treatment system. Total capacity is around 200 POB each. And finally, Platong field has 2 LQ, 2 oil CPP, and 2 gas CPP, with total capacity 450 POB. There is 1 FSO, Erawan FSO located at Erawan field for condensate storage, and 1 Chevron Pattani Spirit FSO located at Platong field for crude oil and water injection storage. In summary, total gas production in 2022 will be around 400 million square cubic foot per day, but will be rise up to 800 million square cubic foot per day in 2023, and total oil produced will be 7,000 barrels per day in 2022, and will be raised up to 30,000 barrels per day in 2024.
Well, I believe that everyone have a draft picture of Block 1, which is the first our offshore oil field owned and operated by us. This is like our new challenge. So OSRL, could you please share your expertise and or your experience on the offshore oil spill preparedness? Shalina, please.
Thank you, Kun Chatkia. I will start off with giving a short introduction about OSRL first. So generally, if you know that OSRL is an industry cooperative. We are owned by major oil and gas production as well as transportation companies. And our mission is generally to provide members with the resources to prepare for and respond to oil spills efficiently on a global basis. So we have a global footprint with bases and offices across 11 locations worldwide. With regards to our members, we have close to 40 participant members, who are also our shareholders, and we have over 100 associate members. So as you can see, PTT is actually one of our participant members, which means that you have the global access to a full range of spill response resources and services as well. With regards to our expertise in oil spill preparedness, OSRL has worked with members to efficiently prepare for an offshore incident. We can support at a tier 1 all the way to tier 3 at the different levels. With regards to tier 1 resource capability, that is how OSRL can support at an asset level. So we can provide an integrated preparedness service for members who are on exploration drilling campaign or production campaign, both in deep and shallow waters. One example that I can quote is actually a Suriname drilling. So this is an example of integrated services that we provided for Statsoli. Statsoli is an established national company of Suriname. They approached OSRL to work with them on their oil spill preparedness activities for their nearshore exploration drilling campaign. So these blocks actually stretch across Suriname's coastline, and the water depth in this study actually ranged from 8 to 25 meters. So this is for shallow water. The services that OSRL provided for this project varies, wide range actually, from oil spill contingency plan, emergency response plan, trainings, equipment hire, as well as technical support for workshops as well. And then if we move on to the tier 2 level, so as project matures, members may actually work with OSRL to actually develop a tier 2 solution to meet local operating requirements. So this can include working with existing tier 2 provider to improve the response capability. So one example, as you can see from the screen, this is part of a 5-year strategy plan, and OSRL was actually engaged by IESG to assess the oil spill response equipment stockpile and its capability to support in-country oil spill responses. So through this effective collaboration with IESG, OSRL was actually able to engage with various oil and gas operators as well as Thailand Marine Department. So we have an idea of the risk profile within Thailand, and also OSRL get to share our experiences and advocate good practice on equipment stockpile management. So this was a rather successful project, I would say. Okay, and then moving on from tier 2, at the tier 3 level, OSRL can actually support members in developing specific logistics plans, example with tier 3 mobilization plan, and then regularly exercising with members to demonstrate response capability to key stakeholders as well. So as you can see, an example that I would quote here is this exercise Ningaloo challenge. So this was sometime in 2017, and OSRL participated in a 5-day state-level exercise, which was led by the Western Australia Department of Transport. The exercise demonstrated the need for response integration in a coordinated government industry effort to manage a level 3 marine oil pollution incident. So this was a coordinated effort between the Western Australia Department of Transport as well as the incident management team of our client. Okay, and other than supporting in terms of building up tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 resource, OSRL's role in preparedness will also be to engage our key stakeholders on behalf of our members to promote any key industry messaging. This can be done via, let's say, participating or organizing of technical forums and workshops. In Thailand, for example, I think OSRL participated in an ITICA workshop that was hosted in 2015 by Chevron to actually talk about the joint industry project outputs. So we actually talk about some of the key messages from the industry good practice guidelines. That's all from me.
Thank you, Sharina. Now we learn several good practices of oil spill response preparedness, such as conducting capability review, conducting spill exercise regularly, and also developing specific logistic plan. Kun Ahmad, may I explore more about your experience on the oil spill response, specifically in the Gulf of Thailand? What is the key challenge of the area?
Thank you, Kun Chak Kyu. Sawadee-krap, and I am so honored to be here today speaking to everybody. So for the specific challenges of Gulf of Thailand, the first challenge that I would like to probably bring forward, in fact, it doesn't affect just Thailand, but it affects the rest of the world. As everybody knows, we are still living in a COVID-19 world, where sometimes border restrictions can be a challenge to bring subject matter experts or oil spill response experts from outside of Thailand to come in to assist in any potential incident that could happen in Thailand. Thankfully, early this month, the restrictions for Thailand has eased quite a lot, and we now have the ability to enter Thailand through the test and go procedure and process. So it makes it a lot easier. But nevertheless, COVID is an ever-changing landscape, and we should always be ready to understand what can be done to ensure that subject matter experts can enter into a country in the event border restrictions are back up again, and what can be done working with local government authorities to ensure that we get the experts to come in and assist as quickly as possible. In particular for the Gulf of Thailand, because the Gulf of Thailand is a large body of water, there's lots of response strategies that can be used in the event of any oil spill incident in the Gulf of Thailand. But primarily, one of the key strategies that could be applied is the use of dispersant or dispersant application. But naturally, dispersant application is a very sensitive topic, and it needs to be discussed very early on, or in fact, before an incident happens. We need to understand from government authorities, from the local provincial government, what are the concerns about using dispersants and how we can use dispersants effectively in the event of a response. There are also other things that we could do in the event of a spill in terms of being proactive. At the moment a spill happens, before it reaches the shoreline, because Gulf of Thailand is such a large body of water, it can take quite some time to impact the shore. So there are things that can be done as a proactive measures along the shorelines to ensure that in the event that an oil spill does hit or impact the shoreline, the impact will be as minimal as possible. Things that can be done are such as cleaning up unnatural waste along the shoreline, making sure that we do benchmarking surveys to ensure that we understand that before the oil hits, what is the condition of the beaches, so that when we go into cleaning up efforts, then we know what is the target that we need to achieve in order to get back to the clean state of the beaches. As mentioned, I think by Kun Kreson, the location of G1 is pretty close to the boundaries of other countries. So one of the key concerns within the Gulf of Thailand, especially for G1 operations, is obviously transboundary spill. And whenever transboundary spill can occur, we need the assistance of the government to be in close communication with the neighboring countries' government to ensure that they are fully aware and that they are made aware of any potential spill that could occur within transboundary. Now, in order for that to happen, any operators working in the Gulf of Thailand needs to have very close relationships with the local government authorities, and they need to understand their roles and responsibilities in letting the local government know when a potential transboundary spill can happen. That's it. Thank you so much, Kun Chakyu.
Thank you, Kun Ahmad.
Well, let me explain more about G1 asset location. It's located at the down south in the Gulf of Thailand on the north side. It is Platong field, far from Nakhon Si Thammarat province, around 143 kilometers. And the south side is Elawan field, far from Songkhla province, around 180 kilometers. Along the west side of G1 asset, there are a lot of sensitive area, including the favorite tourist attraction like Samui and Phangan Island. There are two harbors at Surat and Khanom, which are congestion zone for both business trade and the tourist traveler. On the east side of G1 area are overlapping with Cambodia and Mekong Delta region of Vietnam and open to the China Sea in the southeast.
Thank you so much, Kun Kraison, for sharing us the G1 geography. As you are G1 chief engineer, in your point of view, is there any other challenge of oil spill preparedness for G1 operation apart from the geographic location, where having lots of sensitive area like you mentioned?
Okay. I will share the two key challenges on G1 asset, which is the first oil field site access. The first challenge is about our team has just been transferring to new organization. There will be a learning curve to understand new standard, new process and procedure. Some of them are promoting to new role. We shall set the plan to support and accelerate our team on both operation and chief competency to be fitted with the new role. And the second challenge is from geographic aspect. G1 asset located between two sensitive areas, which are natural preservation for recreation area and overlapping country with Cambodia and Vietnam. It is crucial that oil spill will be harmful to sea animal, plants and wildlife. Moreover than that, oil spill will impact on breeding and reproduction in the ecosystem. It is important to us as G1 operator to ensure oil spill preservation plan, as it is effective and practical enough to prevent any spill and reduce potential impact if the spill occurs.
Kun Charina, you have anything else to share, please?
Thank you, Kun Kraison. I think those were really good points. And on top of that, what I would like to add on with regards to challenges at the G1 field, I think considering G161 is actually PTTEP's first oil field, dispersant application is probably a response technique that has not been planned for before. And like Nazri has mentioned earlier, this is probably one of the techniques that would be largely applied in the area of Gulf of Thailand. So the challenge here becomes, it lies in working closely with government to make this process of approval a smoother one, and using a platform to make sure that all expectations are aligned. So for example, like understanding what is the government's concerns with regards to dispersant application, the process of conducting dispersant efficacy tests, and so on. So I think this would be the main challenge for G161. And also with regards to the location of G161, like Kun Kraison has mentioned, So from my understanding, it takes maybe about 14 hours by supply vessel from the supply base to the site. So it takes at least 1 day before a tier 2 resource or tier 3 resources can actually reach on site in the event of a spill. So the challenge here becomes establishing a strong tier 1 capability to make sure that any impact of crude oil spill is minimized as much as possible and prevented from reaching those beautiful shorelines that's on the screen right now. I would like to second what Kun Kraison has mentioned. It's about whether your personnel are located, those who are located offshore, whether they are competent to handle an oil spill. Are they familiar with notification procedures? Are they familiar with the resources that are available to them? And the equipment, are the right equipment available to tackle the oil type that PTTEP is handling? So these are the main challenges, I would say, for G161. And as we all know, we have spoken a lot about transboundary spill. In the event there's a transboundary spill, although the response and the incident management will probably not directly be managed by PTTEP, it is most likely going to be a government-to-government interface. But it is also good as an operator to understand this mechanism of cooperation between PTTEP and the government in handling such an incident. So that's all from me.
Thank you, Kun China, for sharing us. As you mentioned that G1 is located quite far from shore, you call remote location. So it needs a significant time to mobilize tier 2 and 3 resources on the location. Kun Ahmad, do you have any experience about oil spill response for any areas having condition like G1?
Yes. So the most recent incident that I would think is quite similar to the conditions of G161 is in the spill that we responded to in Indonesia. The incident was due to a well blowout incident, and there was lots of oil that was spilling out of the reservoir. It occurred in shallow water. So because it was shallow, there was lots of volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that was emitted from the well. So a lot of people had to be evacuated from the drilling rig, and an exclusion zone had to be set up around the impacted rig because the conditions that is just above the water was unsuitable and unsafe for personnel to approach or even ships to approach. So in that particular incident, the incident owner used several kilometers of booms, which they deployed in a very innovative manner, in a concentric manner around the rig, creating 2 layers of circles around the impacted rig. So the layers, the offshore booms that was deployed in circles were able to stop oil from flowing out. Although this technique is pretty unique, it is really specific for the particular incident. There are certain pros and cons to this particular technique, and at any incident, it is always advisable to always look at the situation that is happening and choose the best method of deployment of booms to make sure that it is being used as the most effective method as possible. But in this instance, the concentric method was used, and oil was able to be skimmed off from the surface of the water where the oil was collected around the row booms that was deployed. The collection of the oil was also done by special skimmers. They are particularly high volume skimmers. So we deployed our own octopus skimmer that was used to collect the oil that was captured by the offshore booms. Now the octopus skimmer is a high volume skimmer, and it is suitable for this particular kind of incident because as the oil that was spilled was pretty large, and because it was a well blowout incident, the oil that was flowing out was continuous, so there was oil continuously coming out of the reservoir. So the octopus skimmer was used, and it was very effective in the use of the collecting of oil for this particular incident. Now, as Sharina mentioned, because G161 is located about 14 to 15 hours away from the nearest shore base, similarly in this incident, the incident location was also located about 15 to 16 hours away from the nearest shore base. Now, the challenge behind this is the waste management, or the collection of oil that was then stored on the ships. The incident order needed to find a way to bring all the collected oil to the shore base, and at the same time figuring out how to still continue the oil skimming operations. And that was one of the biggest challenges that this incident faced. Because of the distance of the shore base, they had to figure out how to make sure that the skimming operations are not disrupted, and it can be continued even when they are moving the collected oil back to shore. Other than the offshore operations that happened in the incident, we also assisted with shoreline surveys along the coastal shoreline of Indonesia, Java, and we provided advice to how beach cleanup techniques can be applied for the impacted shorelines that the oil had gone on to. Thank you so much, Shun.
Thank you, Kun Ahmad. It sounds very interesting. We learned many special response and equipment, and also the techniques. Not only the high capacity skimmer, but it's called octopus skimmer, but also the special offshore boom deployment technique. Kun Kraison ka, you think how can they be applied for the G1 following to Kun Ahmad sharing?
Well, the spill response technique from OSRL is good learning to us. The technique selection will be based on spill volume and trajectory assessment. We shall observe the oil sheen by area and color. We will do manual of surface release trajectory calculation for the ground information. The spill response technique will be considered from our available resource, which are competent manpower, supply vessel to support oil spill response. We shall store tier 1 oil spill equipment on the site. Then we will observe the oil sheen. We shall estimate the volume and assess the trajectory. If the oil sheen move into the dangerous area, the dispersant will be spraying and using a set of containment and recover equipment. We shall apply the boom and skimmer to barricade the oil spill to recover and control. PTTEP is a member of IESG Thailand. If the oil spill is up above tier 1, we shall utilize the oil spill equipment resources shared from the IESG per agreement. Those are stored at the Songkhla base. In addition, we shall request support from government agencies such as the Marine Department and Royal Thai Navy through activation of the National Oil Spill Response Plan.
Today, we learned several topics regarding oil spill preparedness and response. This will help us to be ready in spill response for G1 operation. As we mentioned earlier, that G1 is like our first offshore oil field. So, Kun Ahmad and Kun Sharina, could you please provide any suggestion for PTTEP as we will have our first oil field operation in Gulf of Thailand, please?
I think we have highlighted these along the way, and I think our suggestion would be to have closer interaction between PTT, EPED with the government authorities. That is extremely important. How this can easily be achieved via regular discussions, be it technical workshops. And I know for G161 team, you recently had an internal CIMA workshop to talk through the various response techniques and select what is best given the conditions within G161. So having a similar workshop like that, but extending it out to the external stakeholders, to government agencies, that would be really good, because then it allows, it is a platform to make sure that everyone, all the different stakeholders have their interests, being discussed about, and then everybody aligning their expectations. And on top of that, having regular exercises would be a good platform as well. It allows the government or the various authorities to actually understand what are the limitations or what are the challenges within G161. We also spoke a lot about transboundary spill, and what's important here for PTTEP is to actually understand what is your role in such an event of a transboundary spill. Understanding how does the communication or notification flow, and how are you as an operator expected to support. A lot of times, given this transboundary spill, it becomes a government-to-government initiative or government-to-government communication. So I think it's good during peacetime for you to have that discussion with government authorities to understand how do you as an operator will be required to support in such a transboundary spill. Nazri, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, thanks, Shah. So I would just like to also second what Sharina has said, in particular about exercising. I just want to add to the point on exercises is that I think when we talk about exercises, we need to ensure that we are clear on what the objectives of the exercise that you want to do, and to try not to be too over-ambitious when we conduct exercise. The whole point of the exercise is to ensure that we tease out any potential issues that we could face in the exercises rather than in an actual spill. So putting on very clear and very realistic objectives is very important when we do exercises, so that we can actually understand what are the things that we need to resolve, and then we can continue with other exercises that focuses on other aspects of the response. And also with regards to the close collaboration with the local government, not to forget that provincial government are also important as well. So not to just talk to local government agencies, but also your provincial government, because they will also be a big stakeholder in the area that you operate. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kun Ahmad and Kun Sharina, for joining us today. Your helpful suggestions, such as engagement with authorities, conducting oil spill exercise with them, and including the communication channel in case of transboundary spill, will be considered and applied for G1 operation. And also, I would like to say thank you to Kun Kraisorn for sharing us the G1 background and information and your interesting point of view. Thank you everyone again.